Alright, time for another draft science video presentation. That's what time it is. You've arrived at the right time. Apparently any time is the right time. So, comments, which there really aren't any. So, it's okay with me, I suppose. We know there's just so little intelligent life on planet Earth that, it's hard to have one randomly fall in. So anyway, Dino says thank you for answering his questions, and then this asshole says, "What the heck you doing? Even I can tell this guy's full of shit." Now his name's Doug Looney, so he goes out trolling with the name Doug Looney. I mean, what the fuck? Oh yeah, that'll work. Sure, it'll make me seem credible. No, I don't think it will. And then he says, "Send those trolls over to me, buddy." Yeah, sure. I know how to take care of them. Care of them. No, I don't think you do. So anyway, so that was it for the comments. Fascinating. Humans are just so interesting. When their guts are popped out of them. Yeah, squish. It reminds me of that Saturday Night Live sketch, where a guy, he'd squish people in his imagination, when they were walking down the street, because they're little, squish, squish, squish. I enjoyed that. This would be nice to have such powers. Life could be so much more interesting than it is, just little things like having the do-over machine or something, or just the see what would happen if I went in this video, instead of talking, I just did that. See how the world would change, if I just made random noises, beep beep beep, sort of, beep beep, made my own song, put it to music. How, what universe, it'd be so cool just to be able to try them all out, try out all kinds of different ways of living and see which one worked out better. But no, we don't get anything. God was so unimaginative, he couldn't give us any kind of interesting world to live in. No, we just have to plant potatoes and praise the Lord, plant some potatoes and praise the Lord, and don't have sex for fun, just for making babies. Fuck. God, I hate this planet. Alright, so anyway, so these people called the Shills, right? There are a lot of these pseudo-intellectual types. Yes, some of them actually have pieces of paper that say they're intellectuals, that they went to school and they learned some crap and they could repeat the crap, they could get the right answers on a test. So yes, they're real intelligent people, some of them, and they call themselves the Shills. So that makes sense, right? It's like calling themselves the propagandists, the Borgites, the authorities. We'll tell you what to think. We won't tell you how to think, or we won't talk about thinking as a subject. We'll just be assholes and say, look how cool we are, But they won't show us any big boobs or big penises to prove that they're cool. No. Just witticisms. They live for their witticisms. Oh, I was witty and I disparaged him with my clever little whatever trityism. This is what people live for. These synthetically superficial plastic. I mean, this is styrofoam intelligence, right? I mean, it's just so frickin' fake. You have to resort to these cheap shots. You can't actually shoot a real gun and real bullets and be accountable and say something meaningful. No, everything has to be reduced to this fluffy, plastic, synthetic, I love you bullshit. Oh, thanks for showing up. Oh, you're so special. All this promotion crap. I mean, it's just putrid. But the shills, they're proud to call themselves shills. I mean, it's like calling yourself the assholes. What the fuck? They're supposed to be intelligent and they don't know shill is not a good thing. You know, that's kind of what makes the world suck, is the shills in it. You know, if it wasn't for the shills, it wouldn't be nearly as bad, because then everybody would just mind their own business, planting their own potatoes, and they wouldn't be trying to sell people rotten potatoes. Fuck. Using the potato analogy because the Jehovah Witnesses think that's paradise, right? That's the paradise we're heading for. God is going to kill all the evil people, you know, send them all to hell, and all the good people will plant potatoes forever and ever. It'll be so much fun. Anyway, fuck, I just can't, you know, how the fuck. Anyway, so they talk about me a little, you know, because Baldy Catz is in there, and AB Science, who apparently did actually watch one of my videos when I talked about him. So I guess that's what you have to do, is I have to put his name in the title and then he'll watch the video, but he won't watch the video if I'm actually explaining physics, which is unfortunate. So there's just so little you can control in this environment. So we'll play some of this, and you know, just to point out, I mean, shit, that this is all it's really about, is who can buffoon something. It's not about having a fair fight. It's not about getting to the truth. It's not, you know, again, this conversation started with the premise, look, their evidence is so weak. Why is everybody so confident in this standard model of wooey bullshit? It's based on bizarrely, you know, extravagant interpretations of reality. And they can't even agree on these interpretations. I mean, one person says, yes, God does, Feynman, God does play dice with the universe. And I'm not saying Feynman believed in a God, but he believes the universe just farts randomness. It just poof, 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 poof. Little random crap pops into the universe and tells a piece of light to go this way or that way or some other way. There's not some physical mechanism causing the effect. No. There's not variables causing the effect. No, it's just the universe is random all by itself. I mean, it's an interpretation. It's not based on anything called evidence. And the only evidence is this idea that, shit, we can't figure out how that happens. So, yeah, there's little tiny stuff in the universe that we can't videotape. We can't put a secret camera and watch what it does. We can only see the effect, you know. We put the babysitter in the room, we come back 3 hours later, you know, and the baby's got a broomstick up its ass, and we wonder, how did that happen? You know, where are the variables? Anyway.
Oh, you enjoy it, so, but I'll just
do it for 2 bottles of whiskey. 2 bottles of whiskey.
And then they all got accents, you know, which is, you know... It's this multiculturalism a little bit. Well, it's not really. It's the multiculturalism of the Great Britons. Well, I don't even know if that's true now anymore. I mean, the Muslims probably outnumber the Scottish now. But anyway, you can't tell what the fuck some of these people are even saying. It's so far from being English.
He'll buy them himself, but he will. And he never said they had to buy a couple of bottles. He never said they had to be.
Alright, so, you know, and all this, again, this celebration of cliche, juvenile, oh, I went to a party last night and I got so drunk. And, you know, it's like, you didn't get over that, like, on your 22nd birthday or somewhere around there. You figured out that, oh, yeah, that's all bullshit. You know, this whole party bullshit is just sort of bullshit, okay? It really doesn't get you anywhere. But now they haven't grown up. Still playing their little drinking games and such. It's so much fun.
Bull walls.
Barman will just say, there's 1 shot left.
Yeah. That's
do the pirate thing. Do the pirate thing. There's 1 shot left.
Jeez. Do the pirate thing, she said. There's one shot left.
Send him rum if we're doing pirates. But I was just going to ask Catz, what's your next debate on your channel for next week?
So that guy sounds just like Catz, which is kind of funny. So the guy who sounds like Catz is asking Catz.
While we've got you here.
It is actually me debating next week.
So it's actually me debating next week, right? So this week's thing got canceled, I guess. It was going to talk religion, I suppose. But anyway, as far as I know. So as a premise, like I said, I did a video a couple of videos ago just showing the email I sent, pretty much explaining what the hell, you know, trying to get some framework for the conversation so we don't have this problem of just citing bullshit and arguing vague notions of reality, so we can actually argue about these two slit experiments, these two versions, single slit, double slit, and the inconsistencies of the applied theories.
And I should be picking the brain of AB Science between now and then.
Yes, well, you could have picked, you know, you could have asked him to take your place, because Catz just keeps trying to find excuses for how he's going to poorly perform. You know, I'm just a high school teacher. I can't, you know. So he can handle a flat earther, but he can't handle a tinfoil hatter, right? Because they just throw me in this category. You know, like anybody who opposes our dogma must be a lunatic or a cracked pot, or, and yeah, okay, I'll concede, you know. But that's going to be true in every single circumstance. When any subject is debated, there's going to be 9 million people with the wrong answer and 1 person with the right answer. I mean, we're still fighting religion, right? I mean, come on. So yes, the gullible and the stupid will be gullible and stupid. But there was somebody with the right answer, you know, Darwin. And he, you know, gave you a rational argument why the evidence doesn't point to gods. It points to a dumb, freaking biological system that's making a bunch of, you know, horrible robots that just go out and make a mess of each other. You know, drinking each other's blood and shit.
There's a channel called DraftScience, and I think he's called AB out quite a few times. He's called me out a few times, and his...
Yes, and so you know, why don't you deal with those? So I called you out, and I got nothing back from you, okay? Nothing in the framework of an argument back, you know, so no counter argument to what I was stating, you know, which is kind of annoying.
whole shtick is that...
So it's a shtick. Everybody has a shtick. So it's a shtick. Yeah, I'm just doing it for the stickiness of it, you know. You know. So is your whole shtick that religion is bad and flat earth is bad? Is that your shtick? I should just call it a shtick. You know, you don't think it's bad that people have these silly, stupid, ignorant notions of reality they cling to, and it ruins their politics, it ruins their whole understanding of how society should function, it disables our cultures, it destroys the quality of our life. That's just a shtick. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just the attitude is totally unnecessary, because again, I'm not like the typical flat earther or the flat, you know, the tinfoil flat hatter. Okay, I'm not sitting here just making assertions. I'm inviting a conversation. I'm trying to solicit the argument from you. I'm pleading with you. Show me the truth. Show me your experiment. Show me your facts. Right? I'm, you know. But anyway, continue.
The physics is completely misunderstood. So he'll do debunking videos, but he'll do debunking videos on, like, Professor Jim Al-Khalil.
No, I'll do a debunking video on anything that just makes an assertion that I don't think there's any evidence for. So I've debunked nobodies and I've debunked somebodies. And, you know, so he knows I've done videos to him and AB Science. So he knows I'm not just doing show videos. And, yeah, I've played, you know, Professor Lewin's lectures. I played 50 of Professor Lewin's whole lectures. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Or Michio Kaku or Brian Cox. You know, he will.
No, I won't pick on some of them because they're too, you know, you're just gonna. I mean, Brian Cox just brings up, oh, fuck, he's just so gay. You know, that you're almost like, oh, I'll end up saying something inappropriate because, you know, you're not allowed to joke about stuff who are, you know, whatevers, the whatever types. You know, and it is a joke. I don't have any, you know, I don't want to put any gay people in a camp or anything, but fuck, some of them are eccentrically gay. You know, they're not just gay, they're, you know, they're professionally gay. I mean, they're really working at it hard. And it's hard not to notice that, you know. So, anyway, so I haven't bothered with Brian Cox. But anyway, and Michio Kaku doesn't say anything about physics. He just talks about his little imaginary Star Trek adventure he's, you know, imagining the human race is going to go on. You know. Yeah, sorry, I had to laugh a little when I said it, just because it's so funny. He thinks the aliens really do exist. They've proven it. There's been so many cigar photos. How could the universe couldn't just randomly produce all those cigar photos? Must be something to it.
We'll try and debunk what's standard physics.
Yeah. I'm trying to debunk these extraordinarily preposterous, hyperbolish exaggerations of quantum mechanics. I mean, it's the most proven theory in the history of mankind. It's the most, we've got the most decimal places. We've, you know, it's all sewn up. We've proven it. The wackiverse is real. And you don't have any of that shit. And you can't even honestly describe an experiment as simple as just putting a couple of holes in something. 2 fucking slits. And none of your physicists can accurately describe what the hell happens. That's sort of amazing. Yes, that you have this whole religion based on this, you know, it's all teetering on this stupid, simple experiments that you've interpreted insanely. Like, you know, I don't know. I mean, finding a variable that just isn't anywhere near the circumstance to make a gremlin exist and to prove we've proven gremlin theory. You know, I mean, and as I've pointed out, bent space isn't even an answer. There's no energy. It's not a system. It doesn't make any sense. You're just saying the invisible mechanism is invisibly moving things. How is that an answer?
So for some reason he wants to debate.
Yes, yeah, for some reason. The reason is that I really don't like religions, and physics looks just like one. Ugh.
Me on the double slit experiment. I've no idea what he's going to bring.
Yeah, I would like the general subject of what the fuck a photon is. Okay, so you talk as if you know what this thing is, but you're still in Einstein's position. As Einstein stated 2 years before his death, I've been studying photons for 50 years and I have not improved my understanding 1 iota. A pretty bold concession that, oh, you're still pretty fucking confused.
What he's going to say, but
so I saw, you know, I have no idea what he's going to say. So you know, just understand, I sent it. This is after I sent him an email telling him exactly what I'm going to say, exactly what I'm going to assert. You know, so that's kind of horse shit right there, isn't it? I mean, what the fuck? You can't be a little bit fair? Just a little bit?
Sure, AB. I think you know him a lot better than I do, don't you?
So that's hilarious. You know, he knows him. AB Science knows me. When yes, I had certainly less email exchange with him. I asked him for a debate, and he said no. How much? I don't care. Fuck you. That's what he did. I mean, he didn't. Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, the encounter we've had, he's done a couple of videos on me.
Yeah, I didn't really do them on you. I did them on your analysis of Ken Wheeler, and I believe in some of them I pointed out that the theory you're defending isn't any better than his wacky shit. So Ken Wheeler has all this wacky shit spinning around inside of magnets, right? All these they're not even atoms doing it. I don't even know what the fuck's doing it, but there's shit moving this way and shit tornadoing down here. And what the hell does the conventional theory do? It does the same thing. It pretends there's motion inside the magnetic fields, and there's no evidence that anything ever moves on those field lines. There's every bit of evidence that it's just another magnet that's being created by the iron filings. They're just sticking all together and making a magnet, and the magnet has the opposite polarity as the first magnet. And obviously the magnets would repel each other. The ones with all the same magnetic orientation, they're going to repel each other, and that's why there's lines there. That's why they're separated from each other. Why was that difficult? But instead you think they're roadways, they're pathways, stuff is flowing through them eternally.
But it started off with him responding to some stuff I did about Ken Wheeler, and he asked, like, you know, he asked me if we could do a debate. Now, I don't do debates.
So, you know, but I'll do conversation. So this is more like, what the, so you are shills, right? Because now you're just going to play little semantic games. I asked for the opportunity to challenge your physics as you're challenging Ken Wheeler. So that's what I clearly did. You're challenging Ken Wheeler's authenticity and reality, and you're fact-checking him. Will you provide me the opportunity to fact-check some of your assertions?
I mean, what tonight was I still wouldn't class it as a debate. I mean, it was me.
All right, so what he did tonight, I guess, was make fun of Ken Wheeler. So yes, it's not a debate. Okay. I didn't ask to make fun of you. You know, I asked to challenge you to explain why it's reasonable for people to believe in these extraordinarily bizarre explanations. There's a multiverse, when something simple, scatter, can explain the experiment.
Trying to explain something was being interrupted, but
all right, so still mean it was, I'm trying to figure out, so I don't know why, I guess he talked to somebody else and he was interrupted too often. I don't know, he debated somebody about something tonight. This is the after pub chat, so I don't know what the real event was, but anyway. But this is another thing, you know, people bring up this interrupting thing an awful lot, you know, and you know, I get accused of it, but what I'll just defend every single time I've ever interrupted is because the person's changing the subject, or frankly, they're asserting 43 premises in their statement. Okay, so they get to say 43 things that don't get challenged, right? Because I can't even, you know, I'm supposed to take notes on 43 assertions you made. God exists, and of course Moses exists, and of course this event happened, and of course that event, you know, and you know, yeah, I'll interrupt because who the hell, I'm not gonna, you know, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to just evade having to debate those premises by just asserting them as a premise to some other dumbass assertion. So people need to be interrupted, you know, when they're changing the subject or preposterously, you know, adding premises that were never agreed to.
He asked me, you know, for a debate, and I said, like, well, I don't do debates, but I'm willing to have a discussion. I do have some basic requirements, right?
Right, and the point is he wants me to, you know, prove my credibility, but he won't watch any of my videos to do it. So, you know, how exactly do I do that? So he wants me to write some kind of statement or something that somehow proves I know what that I have a valid understanding of the experiments that have been performed. I'm supposed to do that? I mean, I'm supposed to give you that without writing too much to read anyway, to more than you're going to read. You know, I mean, you could spend, you know, pages just on analyzing the Eddington experiment and all the problems with it, and providing the proof of those problems. But anyway, so this is another piece of crap where they just sit there, oh, I'm not going to engage in debate until you prove your credibility, but I won't watch any of your content. Even 5 minutes. Like I said, just take 5 minutes of one of my videos and just say, okay, this is where I'm going to show that you're full of shit. But you won't do any of that. I mean, they're not willing to do any of that. So there's no starting point here. It's just a fake. This is part of their shill. I gave you the opportunity to prove you have a credible point to make. No, you really didn't, because you won't listen to a credible point. You'll only listen to some assertion.
If you want me to engage in a philosophical discussion about...
Okay, so this is another thing where, you know, this isn't his fault, but I mean, this whole idea that fucking science has something to do with philosophy. Philosophy is it's over here. You know, science is logical thinking, okay, with evidence. Facts turned into more facts. Combining facts to make facts. That's science. Philosophy is a subcategory. Doesn't have anything to do with it. So there's physics. There's not philosophy of physics. There's physics. You make assertions that are the truth. You're asserting the evidence points to this being a probable fact. That's science. There's no philosophy involved here.
The interpretation of quantum mechanics.
So then he uses the word interpretation. So you have, this is like a double negative, right? I mean, you got philosophical and interpretation. The interpretation is just a stab at the reasoning, right? So you're saying here's a collection of dots. I've connected them this way. That's my interpretation of the dots, right? And the real point is that the argument is simple. I'm simply arguing those dots don't even exist. What are you talking about? You never did that detector experiment. No, that, open the second slit, someplace gets darker. No, that never happened. Oh, single photon? Yeah, well, that's a trick. Single photons aren't that easy to produce, clearly. And as I've demonstrated with the example of the Veritasium video, clearly he couldn't get the thing to work unless he cranked the photo detector up so high that he was getting a huge error rate. Clearly. That's what the dots connected. When you connect the dots, you can see, oh, Veritasium really had a problem getting this experiment to work, and he didn't say that. He didn't say in his video, I spent days fucking with this thing, and I couldn't get it to happen. The only way I got it to happen was I cranked the thing way to fuck up.
Right. Okay,
I don't know what the fuck that is.
And that's okay. But I had to lay down the law and say I need.
So I had to lay down the law. I mean, again, it's the law. The conversation isn't that complicated. I assert that your physics is weakly evidence. That's not a complex accusation. And your counter argument should be, oh, well, look at how the two-slit experiment proves light's a wave. And I'll say, no, it doesn't do anything like that. It doesn't even come close to doing that. I can't find a single professor on YouTube that actually describes the actual two-slit experiment. I mean, they can't even get the basic details of what happens in the experiment, what the results are. They can't even draw it correctly. Right? It's a two-slit fucking experiment. It's this simple fucking angular geometry thing. It's, high school algebra. And they can't get it right. They can't draw these triangles, correctly.
You to demonstrate first that you have an understanding of this.
Yes, well, you should demonstrate first. Okay, let's see. I don't get to do it, right? I can demonstrate that you don't really know anything about any of these elemental, fundamental experiments, the ones that are the core of your whole theory, that you never really analyzed them. You've just accepted these as truths, and you've never said, hey, it is kind of strange the Eddington experiment was never successfully redone. Especially in the 100-year anniversary of the experiment when they had that perfect eclipse and it still wasn't redone. And we have all this technology. We've never done it from space, right? We have all this beautiful space technology. We flew around the moon dozens of times and, put landers on and rovers and did all this stuff. And we never put, all right, let's put a telescope on the moon and look at the sun, next to the sun, see if we can see some shit moving. Nope. Couldn't be bothered. that somehow doesn't bother you, that you have a fundamental piece of evidence that you've never been able to validate with by repeating the experiment. It doesn't bother you any. That's part of having a rock solid theory, is having absolutely no good evidence.
Yeah, right, because if I'm going to debate someone on something, there is a certain reading level.
You're right, and I have that literacy, so to claim I don't have the literacy is just such a bogus claim. I mean, you know, I've played the professors, I've played the videos, you know, I obviously have had plenty of exposure just by playing their videos in my video. You can't say, well, he's never exposed to a college lecture. Yeah, I have been. Never exposed to the yeah, I have been. I've played the experiments, the ones that are recorded, right, from the 50s. I've played a ton of those videos that started all this shit. Yeah, so it's just bullshit.
That's required.
And all my videos are that. I mean, all of my videos are me drawing it or showing the video evidence, and that's it. 99% of the content is doing that. I'm not just sitting here going, well, the hyperboloid is the sacred geometry of the, you know, magical toroid engine of the perpetual energy machine, and we just need to, you know, figure out how to pull all of that free energy out of that, you know. No, I'm not doing that.
And I do want, you know, I don't want to waste my time, and I want to make sure that...
Right, and I don't want you to do that either, okay? But the point is that you're critiquing other people, okay, in this, I'd say, kind of slipshod kind of manner. But you know, the truth is that none of you people seem willing to be likewise critiqued.
We can have a meaningful discussion.
Yes, yeah, that would be good.
Rather than having to explain how to perform a year 6 science experiment.
Right, so he says a year 6 science experiment. I guess that's a Great Britain thing. And that's exactly what's illustrated in my videos. I play Richard Feynman drawing it wrong. I show you Professor Lewin looking at the double slit experiment where it has the envelope pattern in it, right? And he goes on, off, on, off, on, off forever. He doesn't even acknowledge the two patterns. I mean, he just completely says, oh no, it doesn't exist. There's no problem with our perfect math. It perfectly explains the pattern. When, no, it doesn't. The pattern's not the one you drew on the blackboard. The pattern's not the one that made your math works. And I have to explain things like, well, when you're projecting this pattern onto a flat surface, you're going to distort the fuck out of it on the fringes, right? So, you know, eventually your little bars of light are going to get pretty much, you know, infinitely huge. You know, your math isn't going to predict any of that because you didn't put into your math, oh yes, we're retardedly projecting it on a flat screen, when logic says, yeah, you have to project it on a spherical screen to actually see what exactly is happening and have any hope of actually collecting the photons too. You can't collect the photons when you spread them over a huge surface. So that's why you don't see some of the bars, is because you're spreading them over way too much surface area. So these are simple mechanical mistakes they've made that I've emphasized in these videos. And again, you're talking about, you know, me understanding a grade 6 or whatever science experiment when I can show you professional physicists with high degrees, Susskind, Lewin, Alkahari, whatever the, forget his name at Yale. I mean, I'm showing you them not being able to conceptually accurately describe the experiment, and then cite experiments that have never been performed. Detector experiments, where you try to passively detect a photon or an electron, which is ludicrous. Even Feynman stating, well, you could possibly detect an electron by shooting photons at it, you see? As if a single photon could actually hit a single electron. Which, if you know what polarization of photons is, well, there's no chance that a single photon could ever hit a single electron. because the photon's only 1 billion times bigger as a composite object. Anyway, just ignore the arguments. Just pretend there's nothing to see here. Yes, you're smart. Everybody else is stupid. This is just such a freaking, you know, this is just another form of a bigotry, really. And look, some of profiling is going to happen in the world. I can't argue that most dissidents aren't assholes. Just talking shit. It is the truth. The de-Hilster types do us all so much damage because they just talk out of their ass about expanding Earth based on shit for evidence.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm too stupid to understand the 6th grade, experiment. And I've shown you, again, your authorities, these high-ranked, intellectual, brilliant, these Nobel Prize winners, and they can't figure out projecting on a flat screen won't work. And they can't figure out that, oh yeah, we never did any detector experiments because they're theoretically impossible.
Yeah.
I think it possibly could be that way with this guy from some of the things I've heard him say.
Right. So when he's not going to see, it'd be nice if he just assert one of the things I've said, that you're sure I'm wrong about it, that I haven't checked my facts and I'm just talking out of my ass. So why don't you just quote one of my statements that you know he has to be wrong on that, but you don't do that. Stinker.
But the thing is, though, it's very difficult for the layperson, even though they can watch DraftScience. So
it's difficult for the layperson. The whole thing I'm illustrating is that it seems like it's difficult for you professional physicists and professional teachers and professional brainiacs to sit there and describe a 2-slit experiment accurately. That seems difficult for you. You can't seem to figure it out. That's not how it works. Shit. So again, I'm just saying that the whole thing is always about logic and persuasion and arguments, and all I'm showing people is that look, there's reasons to doubt these people, right? I mean, I've shown them. I mean, like, you're watching Professor Lewin looking at the 2-slit experiment with the 2 patterns in there, the missing element, and he just skips right over the missing bit and just pretends the missing bit is actually there. And that somehow the math is accurate, that yes, there's the pattern, this is what we got, this is what's real. When I'm showing them him not doing that. And then I can explain the flat screen thing and how, well, that just fucks up your view of whatever's happening. So yeah, you have to look at this thing on a curved screen, or you're really not going to get a good image of it. You're not going to get an accurate image. Yeah, laymen can understand that.
They know that he's just making stuff up. It's very...
So again, I'm proving that you're making stuff up. Your physics has a bunch of made-up stuff. Citation to experiments have never been repeated, right? Citation to experiments never performed, okay? And then you can't even accurately describe something as simple as the pattern that comes out of a 2-slit experiment. And I've shown you the simple dissection. You're saying it can only be explained by waves. And I show how... No, obviously it can be explained by surface scatter. That the surfaces are scattering the photons, and you re-put in the same geometry, same math, same path length differences.
Very, very difficult for somebody to really put him straight unless...
Yeah, so that's a funny statement, right? It's really difficult to put him straight. The idea isn't to put me straight. The idea is to show how I've said something that isn't true. That when I say there are no detector experiments, that there really are. When I say there hasn't been a really good experiment, an experiment performed under any kind of clinical circumstances that has ever demonstrated that you open the 2nd slit and a place that was light gets dark. It doesn't exist as an experiment.
They are a very high-level physics expert, like yourself. I'm certainly not. I only teach it at school.
So I only teach it. I don't know it. I just teach it. So he's such an example of the, those that can't teach thing, where he's just copping out all the time. So you're teaching people stuff that might be complete crap, and you're not really that interested to find out if it's really just crap. So I wonder how much is in your high school or whatever you're teaching textbook where they make assertions. Do they assert that the Eddington experiment proves Einstein's relativity? Do they do that? That the light is twice as bent by gravity. I mean, and that the two-slit experiment proves light is a wave. Fuck.
So even though I know he's talking absolute guff.
Okay, so he knows it's absolute guff. All of it is guff. There's not any, it's not 50-50, it's not 60-40, it's not even 70-30. It's all guff. This is just such horse shit. Ugh. So this is what intelligent people resort to as an argument.
Like it's going to be a challenge, to get my my physics up to scratch.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge not to have to admit the simple truth that the evidence for the conventional model, the standard model, is pathetically weak, and that there shouldn't be any closed doors here to figuring out a more rational definition of reality than entanglement and multiverses and God plays dice with the universe and all of this wooey crap, all of this spooky, crappy, stinking action, all of this Schrodinger cat horse shit, all of this the moon disappears when we're not looking at it. Bullshit.
Between now and next week.
Well, yeah, that was the thing, because actually someone posted a comment just describing what his channel was about and just posted a link. And I just went to a random timestamp of the video that guy linked, and he actually said some stuff. It was about Ken Wheeler.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was video. I was probably pointing out how the ferrocell worked, which one of you people should be doing. A real physicist should be pointing out how, or somebody who has better view numbers, let's just say, one of these people should point out how this fucking thing works so all these deluded kooks can understand this has nothing to do with bending light with a magnet. You can't bend light with a magnet. It ain't happening.
And he kind of gave a pretty accurate description of why Ken Wheeler was, absolutely full of shit or something.
Right, so I'm full of shit, but I'm not full of shit, but I'm full of shit, but I'm not full of shit. 1 minute I'm talking reasonable, the next minute somehow I'm completely unreasonable and full of guff.
But then I thought, okay, this guy knows. My first impressions was just from I think it was 10 or 15 seconds. Was this?
These, they really have this insanely exaggerated. They really think they have big giant muscles and they're really superheroes, and they can watch 15 seconds of a video and they can know the truth. 15 seconds.
This guy knows what he's talking about, so I switched it off because I'm not interested in that, right?
Okay, so this is the, preposterous duplicity, right? 1 minute he says, I'm only interested if you can show you have some credibility and know what you're talking about. And then he says, as soon as I found out he might know what he's talking about, I said, fuck it, I'm not interested. I mean, which is it? Come on. You can't explain this. These people can't even explain something this simple without contradiction. This is the whole problem with physics. They don't know what a contradiction is. They really don't understand the word contradiction. It's a contradiction to 1 minute say an electron is 1 billion times smaller than an atom, or 1 billion billion, or 1 trillion billion. And a photon spreads, in its polarization, 1,000 atoms worth, and yet somehow 1,000 times a double billion, somehow equals, they hit each other. I don't think so.
I don't watch the pop science channels.
Okay, so he's a physicist who's not terribly interested in what physicists are talking about and what's the new thing and blah 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 and all that crap. Nah, not too interested.
I don't watch channels like Sabine Hossenfelder or stuff like that. You know, I occasionally watch some of the stuff that Jim Al-Khalili would come out because.
Okay, so this is kind of funny, right? So Al-Khalili, I played his videos. I mean, he's another guy can't explain a double slit experiment accurately. Clearly states detector experiments were done and that they had a result. That is, that the result went back to looking like a single slit, which, again, I've pointed out, can't make any sense. It's not even possible that would be the outcome, because if I was able to hit electrons, we know I would hit the electrons in a direction with the detector. The electrons wouldn't go in different directions. They'd go in one direction as I attempt to detect them with photons. So I'd be pushing the pattern off to in a direction. It wouldn't restore it to some original state. So, I mean, these are just such obvious, they're the ones talking out of their ass. And then they do this insulting other people?
Like Jim, he's a nice guy. And
yeah, Jim's a nice guy. I mean, he couldn't get wooier, right? I mean, he is the one who's, quantum goes all the way, like there's no something. Everything's just made out of the nothing waves. I mean, it's just such wooey nonsense. Quantum biology. I mean, what a pile of crap.
Yeah, I know him, and yeah, he's nice, but I generally don't watch that.
See, so that was, he knows him, and yet these physicists haven't had any conversation. So does he know that the most viewed video on physics on YouTube is Dr. Quantum, and its basic point is that our consciousness is controlling reality? And these guys don't have any problem with that? They don't need to ever make a counter argument just saying, hey, wait a minute, we're not saying that's the truth. Now, maybe Al-Khalili actually thinks that is the truth.
Stuff, because it's like, I do find, because they talk about lots of their weird, wonderful ideas in science, right? And talk about string theory or, high-level philosophical.
Well, yes, obviously I have ignored all of that crap because that's not, they don't even have evidence for that crap. Fake evidence. So, yeah, this, really quite UFO theory. We don't need to waste time on that shit.
Questions in physics, and it's just like, I'm an experimentalist. I'm bored by that.
Okay, so he's bored by theoretical physicist as an experimentalist. I think it would go the other way around. I mean, if you're an experimentalist, you kind of have to be both. It's like it's like the difference between a psychologist and a, what do you call the medical one? Psychiatrist. The psychiatrist has to already be a psychologist, and he's more, because he understands, there's a whole bunch of biology causing this shit. Chemistry and whatnot. And it should be that for the experimentalist. I mean, they have to understand the theory to even understand what they're seeing in the experiment. I mean, they're the one on the ground, so to speak, making the first interpretations, which are the most important interpretations, right? So the real problem is that all these experiments were done by people who had an agenda. Eddington was devoted to Einstein's theory, okay? So he had a prejudice, clearly. Young was an acoustic wave nut, okay? Clearly a bias. This is the problem. The experimentalists on the ground level are agendaists. And that's a real problem.
Right? And there's so much more exciting and interesting stuff and cool stuff.
So I don't know what that even means. Yes, there's lots of magical stuff you can do. You can pour two chemicals together and it turns blue, and ooh, it's blue. Is that what you mean? I mean, if the cool stuff isn't in understanding why it's doing what it's doing, I just don't understand how you're doing science then. I mean, if it's going to be called cool and you're a scientist, then it should be telling you something about how it works. And if it's not doing that, then its coolness would suck. You know, just because it explodes or makes smiley faces, like the image from, you know, the gravitationally imaged, you know, from space, that is a, you know, it's a smiley face. Yeah, the universe randomly created a lensed smiley face. You think so?
That we have an understanding of, and yeah, I think that can be far more fun to communicate.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Let's analyze experiments. You're an experimentalist. Let's look at experiments and how they work. And so, but the real problem is now experiments now are, well, put it in the synthesizers, allow the algorithm to work on those numbers and clean them up. I mean, obviously the experiment isn't the experiment anymore. Just as I pointed out with LIGO, I mean, I didn't even understand how many processes they were putting this thing through. So first you have the theory of the interferometer itself, and then you have the theory of, well, let's make a mirror that has 32 layers of transparency. Okay, 32 layers, because that mirror will be more reliable because the photon doesn't go through the 36 layers. You know, magically, if I have 36 layers, somehow I know exactly how far the photon went in. And yeah, I mean, just stuff that can't make any sense. Obviously the photon has to be, you wouldn't have the 36 layers if none of the photons were using all 36 of them, right? I mean, come on. Why would it be there? You don't need the 36th layer if the photon's not using it. But, you know, so you can spend a whole video just analyzing what they think happens. You know, what's their interpretation of the experiment? I shine light at 36 layers of transparency. What do I think happens to the photon? That can be a whole day's worth of conversation. So that's why this has really gotten out of hand, is because you can never have a conversation. It goes back to the simple arguments of it's a wave, we know it, proved it.
And I just kind of missed that from those channels. But so
I just kind of missed that from those channels. So again, there are lots of presentation videos that make assertions about experimental results, and the real point is apparently you haven't noticed that they're cheating the truth an awful lot when they describe those experiments. Like somehow Stern-Gerlach shows you what the magnetic moment of an electron is when you're looking at silver atoms. I don't know. Somehow looking at a silver atom tells me the magnetic moment of an electron. Even the whole idea of the electron having some sort of magnetic moment doesn't even make any sense. We know all it has is charge. If it had a magnetic moment outside of an atom, then it would screw up its charge relationship. You wouldn't be able to prove charge because the magnetic moment would fuck up the charge. So it doesn't even work.
First I thought, okay, so he's just kind of sitting in his basement, he's talking stuff and that.
All right, so the basement shot, right? So it's always going to be some sort of, you know, this elitist horseshit that if you don't live in a luxury apartment, you know, if you don't have everything because your life hasn't turned out so great, and yeah, you have to make your videos from a basement right now, an unfinished basement, right? Somehow, you know, I can say you don't know what you're talking about. You're a nut. It says more profiling. I mean, it is sort of just bigotry, right? I mean, that's all this is. If they made these jokes about Einstein because of his hair, or, you know, patent clerk, who cares? Is that the way it should be?
I switched off, I didn't really care. And then same guy who...
So again, he doesn't really care. So 1 minute I'm smart enough to have the conversation, next minute I'm not smart enough, blah 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 blah.
I think that video said, yeah, he did a thing on you. And then I watched it in a little bit more depth, and I was like, yeah.
Right, so he watched a video I did to Baldy Catz, and he watched that with more depth, and the evidence is I proved I was an idiot, and I did that. But we'll have no statement here, no quote from me, no anything I said that's completely idiotic, blah, blah, blah. Nothing.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Ha, 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 ha. Right, well, you're a shill. Oh, no. You're a propagandist. You're a Borgite. You're a religious kook. Okay, a religious fanatic. You're just desperately clinging to your mumbo jumbo. Like you found something. You found the little holy spirit of Wooiverse.
It is pretty incredible, some of the stuff he said.
Yes, it's too bad you couldn't even give us a glimmer of what the incredible things were. I said incredible things like, you know, there's force, real force in the universe, not virtual forces. Yeah, virtual photon. Yeah, that's a silly combination of words.
It's wonderful.
I've got a quick comment from chat from Pete Bremble. AB never going to debate most flat earthers if they need to have an understanding of science, which I think is very true.
Right, so they changed the subject, which is fine. Right, it's all this obsession with mocking, you know, people who are either maniacally evil, flat earthers, right, in the sense that they know it's not the truth and they're just goofing on the human race just to make things worse than they already are. You know, let's see if we can make people stupid. I mean, that's a really evil thing to do. Or, you know, but if they believe it, they can only believe it because they have some sort of structure that, you know, enables them to believe things that are just insanely, they're insane. So, I mean, it's an insane thing to think that the millions of people have conspired to hide the flat earth from us. Millions of them have conspired to do that with fake satellites and fake photographs and fake everything. I mean, it's a silly premise for an argument. And so they'll make fun of either insane people or criminally insane people in the sense that they're doing something just so evil, you know, selling to ignorant masses, you know, dumbass excuses to deny the truth and believe in a silly, you know, gingerbread world that somehow now can be converted into a godiverse. But anyway, that's probably enough of a video. I mean, look, I'm not taking any serious offense with this cheap shots, but that's all these are. These are just cheap rhetorical mechanisms. This is what trolls do. So shills and trolls, same kind of thing, really. So yeah, they're just trolling me, you know, with these insults. But let's see what they show up with. But again, see, I'm not getting any useful feedback. So I sent Baldy Catz, you know, my statement, and he apparently won't get to it till later, like an hour before the video, the debate. So, I mean, you know, I'm trying to get agreement on what the fucking patterns are so we don't have to have that argument. And I'd like him to show me, you know, why he believes. So show me the facts that prove it to you good enough. Where on the internet can I go get an analysis of the double slit experiment that actually explains the right pattern with waves? Because I would argue you're not going to do it with waves. It's not going to happen. Waves don't work because they're in the wrong place. So show me where it does work with the waves in the right place. But he's not going to do that. It seems apparent. So I'm not going to be able to argue his theory from his source. He's not going to show me his source of knowing that light's a wave, his evidence. He's just going to sit there and ambiguously cite how, well, they've done the experiment and it's proven. You know, the whole thing being argued is they haven't done the experiment and it hasn't been proven. Oh, shit. They haven't done the experiment well enough. Like Eddington. There's a big void in the evidence. Anyway, till the next time and such. I don't think the commenters didn't really say anything. Flat Earth crap. Let's see. Then they're talking to some guy, some Jesus nut they let into the chat. So what's the point of even leaving a Jesus commenter in here? Because it's just going to be a huge distraction. So anyway, yeah, I don't think they really said anything. Alright, so anyway, till the next time and such. Interesting occurrence. We'll just put it off to that. But I mean, I've seen this before, you know, where people, you know, when I'm not looking, you know, they say things. And you're just saying, you know, what the hell? Why don't you back that up? You've made these accusations. Why don't you show me the evidence of them? And they don't do that because they're evidence averse, it seems. Because they know if we really went based on the evidence, this physics doesn't hold up. This bullshit that we're all supposed to believe. Anyway. Till the next time, such.